Welcome to the thrilling border story. The squad jumps out before the enemy, owning the scene. They are pros on this border. You simply cannot initiate an attack until the opposing side does. This fellow, whose head is covered with more birthmarks than a leopard spots, is staring fiercely at the special forces as though they had just committed a grave injustice against him. But just a second later, what on earth are we all doing at that moment? Kate couldn't believe her eyes. She felt like her jaw had hit the floor when she saw the Maribor squad firing in broad daylight. Meanwhile, Maribor's just chilling, chewing gum as if he's at a beach party, occasionally blowing a bubble. Soon, the third in command was yanked back to secret base, looking as nonchalant as a cat in a sunbeam. But when he saw Sandra walking in with a bucket, his face turned to a Picasso painting of fear. Maribor's squad finally got some useful intel from the third in command. They raced to the border bus station that night, where all incoming passengers to the US were halted like fish at a trout farm. Sandro began sorting them out, but he felt like a fish out of water, totally baffled by the situation. Maribor filled him in on a secret tunnel at the US-Mexico border where all the smuggled goods make their grand entrance. The third in command was clueless about the tunnel's exact location, so they had to stir up a little chaos. The plan? Lure the second in command back to the nest, so they could sweep the whole gang in one go. Sure enough, after some sleuthing, the stowaways pointed right to the tunnel entrance like they were GPS. Next up, they had to get the second in command back into town, locking onto the money launderers to kickstart their bust. Kate thought she'd roll the dice at the bank to see if she could uncover any useful clues. Little did she know, her every move was under the watchful eye of the drug cartel. That night, Kate and her partner moaned and groaned over drinks at the bar, drowning their worries about the day's bad luck. Just then, a muscle-bound guy caught her eye. Turns out he was also a cop, and they hit it off like old friends, forgetting their worries. Who gives a hoot about the drug cartel case? They were far too engrossed in having a blast. But just as Kate was about to get into the details, she spotted something that looked suspiciously like a rubber band. Cue the dramatic music. Turns out, that was the very thing they used to tie up money during their earlier bust. Meanwhile, the guy was still desperately trying to charm her. Kate had an epiphany at that very moment. This guy was actually a ruthless hitman dispatched by the drug cartel. She shoved him away abruptly, but in return, he grabbed her by the neck tightly, like a bad date suddenly taking a dangerous turn. The muscle dude smirked, claiming it's all her fault. Classic villain move. Just then, a shadow loomed over. Sandra was watching from the sidelines. Sandra had been stalking her like a hawk, planning to use Kate to draw out the hidden dirty cops. Under Sandra's intense interrogation, the dirty cop spilled the beans on the list of corrupt officers faster than a leaking soda can. Meanwhile, over at the second-in-command's side, things were heating up. He revved up his engine, heading towards the cartel's lair like a star in a blockbuster. Neba and his squad were geared up like they were going for a swing at the park. The tension was palpable. Kate asked Neba what her mission was, and his answer made her roll her eyes like a seasoned pro. As night fell, the special ops team arrived at the tunnel entrance, ready for action. The clock struck. Never shouted the command, and the squad charged into the mysterious tunnel like they were entering an amusement park. Inside the dimly lit room, gunfire erupted as the drug dealers fought back like they were in an action movie. The raging drug dealers came charging out, and Kate's nerves were shot through the roof. She cautiously followed, waiting for the gunfire to die down a bit, like a cat stalking its prey. Ahead, the squad divided into two groups. Neba signaled for Kate to follow along. But Kate spotted Sandra going down another corridor and didn't hesitate to follow, like a lost puppy. Sandra had just dispatched a dealer when Kate crept up behind him, gun drawn and ready to roll. She barely opened her mouth before Sandra fired twice, almost forcing her to reconsider her life choices. Not fatal, but the impact left her feeling like she had just fallen off the roller coaster. Sandra shot her a cold glance, and with that, he turned on his heel and took the dirty cop with him, like a boss. With her anger gauge filled to the brim, Kate was fully prepared to go toe-to-toe with Neba. But Neba was having none of it. He landed a swift kick that knocked her off her feet. Once Kate calmed down, Neba finally revealed the shocking truth. Talk about the plot twist. Sandra was once a Mexican prosecutor who had his wife and daughter killed for messing with the Sinaloa cartel. Now he's out for revenge. To get even, he teamed up with the U.S. to clean up Sinaloa and build a new order. This way, the U.S. could keep a tight grip on Mexico's drug scene. Talk about a business plan. Sandra, accompanied by the corrupt policeman, swiftly pursued the second-in-command's vehicle and ultimately succeeded in intercepting and forcing it to a halt, displaying expert precision. Then, he pulled a double whammy. Not only did he take out the dirty cop, but he also dealt a serious blow to the second-in-command. Of course, right at the door, Sandro sliced the second-in-command's throat, leaving the bodyguards helpless. Meanwhile, Sandro took out the bodyguards one by one, while the big boss family dined happily. A stark contrast. The contrast fuels Sandro's rage like a BBQ air cookout. Sandro sat down coolly, accusing the big boss of his crimes, but when the big boss asked him not to do anything in front of his family, Sandro went all in and took them out. Finally, Kate was at home, feeling confused when Sandro suddenly appeared in her room like a ninja. Sandro pulled out a statement for her to sign, claiming the operation was as legit as a hot dog stand. Kate refused to sign, but Sandro had the gun pointed at her chin, like a bad cop movie. She finally signed, and Sandro stood up to leave. As he left, he threw a cheeky smile and said, "Don't forget to subscribe to the channel." With an explosive cue, the second installment of Sicario is about to drop.